Are you truly building your life, or merely trying to convince others that you are? In today's hyper-connected world, personal value has become dangerously entangled with visibility. We carefully curate our online personas, showcasing achievements, relationships, and even manufactured vulnerability, all for public consumption. This constant exposure traps us in a cycle of external validation that the ancient Stoics recognized as deeply harmful. The journey toward authentic reconstruction begins with a counterintuitive act, strategic withdrawal to rediscover your true essence. 1. Breaking the validation addiction. The relentless pursuit of likes, comments, and approval has evolved into a dependency that depletes our vital energy. Marcus Aurelius warned that external opinions should never define our intrinsic worth. When we live for others' gaze, we lose connection with our authentic desires and values. This addiction manifests in subtle behaviors, constantly checking responses to your posts, feeling anxiety when you don't receive immediate feedback, comparing your follow account to others, or making choices based on what will generate more online approval. Liberation begins with honest recognition of these patterns in your own life. The first step of strategic withdrawal involves a gradual detoxification from this validation cycle. Establish increasing periods without checking social media. Observe the restlessness that emerges and resist the urge to seek approval. This initial discipline creates the necessary space to rediscover your inner voice. 2. The comprehensive purification process. Strategic withdrawal operates across multiple dimensions. In the digital realm, it means drastically reducing your online presence, limiting time on social platforms, disabling notifications, and potentially even pausing accounts on platforms that excessively consume your attention. Emotionally, this purification involves creating distance from toxic dynamics. Epictetus emphasized distinguishing between what we can and cannot control. Practice redirecting emotional energy from external circumstances to internal development. When intense emotions arise, ask yourself, is this within my control? Does this reaction serve my growth? Mentally, the process requires eliminating excessive informational noise. Rigorously select your information sources. Replace passive consumption of random content with directed reading that nourishes your development. The Stoics practiced careful reflection rather than indiscriminate absorption of others' opinions. 3. Severing ties with former iterations of self. Certain people in our lives function as anchors to the past, not maliciously, but because they knew us at a different time and unconsciously reinforce old behavioral patterns. Identifying and reconfiguring these relationships is an essential part of strategic withdrawal. Seneca emphasized the importance of carefully choosing our companions, warning that we absorb the values and habits of those with whom we associate. Evaluate each relationship honestly. Does this connection nurture my growth, or does it keep me tethered to patterns I wish to overcome? This process doesn't necessarily require dramatic breaks. In many cases, simply establishing clear boundaries, reducing contact frequency, or transforming the nature of the interaction is sufficient. Reserve your energy and time for relationships that reflect the person you are becoming, not the one you once were. 4. Cultivating emotional sovereignty. The Stoics cultivated a state called apatheia, not apathy in the modern sense, but emotional autonomy that allows responding to situations with clarity and balance. During strategic withdrawal, this concept becomes a powerful tool for reconstruction. Practice observing your emotional reactions without being dominated by them. When sadness, anger, or anxiety arise, notice the emotion without judgment and examine its source. This conscious distance breaks the reactive automatism that frequently sabotages our growth. Epictetus taught that it is not external events that disturb us, but our interpretations of them. Train yourself to question your automatic interpretations. Ask, is there another way to view this situation? Is this perspective serving me? This interpretive flexibility is the foundation of true emotional freedom. 5. Developing indifference to external judgment. Cultivating genuine indifference to external opinions represents one of the greatest challenges of the Stoic method, but also one of its greatest rewards. Marcus Aurelius constantly reminded himself that others' judgments rarely stem from complete understanding. This indifference doesn't imply arrogance or isolation, but clarity about the source of your personal value. During your withdrawal period, learn to distinguish between constructive feedback and mere opinions based on subjective preferences or arbitrary social expectations. Practice making decisions based on your principles, even when they contradict popular opinion. Begin with minor choices in safe environments, gradually strengthening your capacity to maintain integrity even under social pressure. This decisional autonomy becomes a muscle that strengthens with consistent use. 6. The liberating practice of deliberate renunciation. Stoicism teaches that true abundance comes not from accumulation, but from the ability to recognize what is essential. Consciously discarding the superfluous creates the necessary space for the new to emerge. This renunciation manifests at multiple levels. Materially, simplify your physical environment, removing objects that don't add real value to your life. Digitally, eliminate applications that consume attention without constructive purpose. Socially, reduce commitments that disperse your focus and energy. Seneca, despite his wealth, regularly practiced periods of voluntary simplicity to remain independent from external comforts. This practice strengthens resilience and clarifies what is truly necessary for your genuine satisfaction. 7. Constructing an invisible incubation environment. During strategic withdrawal, you deliberately construct a new context for your development. This environment, invisible to external observers, becomes the fertile soil for your reinvention. Establish routines that protect your mental energy. Define specific times for contemplative practices such as meditation, reflective writing, or silent walks. Create a physical space dedicated exclusively to inner work, even if it's just a quiet corner in your bedroom. The Stoics understood the profound influence of environment on thought. Marcus Aurelius frequently retreated to simplicity to clarify his mind. Similarly, identify environments that elevate your consciousness and frequent them regularly, whether a tranquil park, a library, or a natural space. 8. External silence that reveals the authentic self. The constant noise of modern life drowns our inner voice beneath an avalanche of opinions, stimuli, and distractions. Deliberate silence functions as a purifying filter, allowing you to identify your true values and desires. Establish regular practices of complete silence, periods without speech, music, screens, or external stimuli. Initially uncomfortable, these moments gradually reveal layers of self-perception previously inaccessible beneath the constant noise. During these silent periods, observe the thoughts that naturally arise, without judgment. What themes recur? What concerns emerge? What ideas or desires appear when external noise is eliminated? This mapping of the inner landscape is essential for authentic reconstruction. 9. Establishing unambiguous boundaries. The withdrawal phase requires developing firm yet respectful limits. Epictetus emphasized the importance of distinguishing between our responsibilities and those of others, establishing appropriate boundaries. Learn to communicate your limits with clarity and firmness. Practice saying no without elaborate explanations or unnecessary justifications. Recognize that each commitment undertaken represents energy diverted from your reconstruction process. This ability to establish boundaries isn't selfishness, but a necessity for any significant transformation. Paradoxically, by temporarily prioritizing your internal development, you will eventually have more to genuinely offer others. 10. Releasing constraining expectations. During strategic withdrawal, identify and abandon expectations that no longer serve your growth. These include both external expectations, imposed by family, culture, society, and internal ones, limiting beliefs about your capabilities and possibilities. The Stoics practiced what they called premeditation malorum, the anticipatory contemplation of difficulties. Apply this concept by visualizing obstacles that may arise during your transformation. How will you handle pressure to return to old behaviors? How will you respond to internal doubts about your new path? This mental preparation strengthens your resolution and develops resilience against inevitable challenges. Marcus Aurelius constantly reminded himself that we should expect resistance, both external and internal, when we seek true growth. 11. The disciplined practice of reflective documentation. Contemplative writing was a fundamental tool for the Stoics. During your withdrawal period, maintain a consistent record of your observations, insights, and internal transformations. This record serves multiple purposes. It clarifies nebulous thoughts, documents your progress, identifies recurring patterns, and creates a map of the inner territory you're exploring. Write without concern for external judgment. These reflections are for your personal use. Seneca developed many of his insights through reflective letters. Similarly, you can structure your writing as a dialogue with yourself, questioning assumptions, challenging limitations, and exploring new perspectives on your forming identity. The strategic withdrawal phase establishes the foundation for all subsequent transformation. Without this period of intentional silence, the other stages lack a solid foundation. The central lesson remains: those who disappear with purpose return with power. Not power over others, but power over yourself. The true freedom that the Stoics so valued. Having created necessary space through silence and strategic withdrawal, we arrive at the most transformative phase of the Stoic method: invisible work. This is the stage where true reconstruction occurs, far from the spotlight and external validation. Like a tree strengthening its roots before displaying fruit, you now develop solid foundations that will sustain your new identity. 12. The power of pragmatic objectives. Establish practical, measurable goals, removing any romantic idealization from the process. The Stoics understood that reason should guide our choices, not transient emotions or unrealistic fantasies. Marcus Aurelius taught us to see things in their naked essence, without the embellishments our mind projects. Define what you wish to achieve with absolute clarity. "I want to become healthier" is vague and ineffective. "I will walk 30 minutes 5 times weekly and eliminate refined sugar from my diet" establishes a concrete path. This objectivity allows you to evaluate your progress without self-deception. The Stoic approach to goals emphasizes control over process, not outcomes. Focus on the daily steps within your reach, recognizing that the final result may be influenced by external factors. Epictetus highlighted this fundamental distinction between what depends on us and what doesn't. 13. The unyielding daily structure. Construct a daily structure resistant to excuses and mood fluctuations. Seneca argued that self-discipline forms the basis of true freedom. Paradoxically, intentional rigidity in certain aspects of life creates space for flexibility where it truly matters. This routine should include fixed times for waking and sleeping, regardless of the day of the week, dedicated blocks for developing essential skills, periods for deliberate reflection and strategic planning, time for physical care and bodily strengthening, moments of deep study without distractions. Consistency generates internal confidence. When you repeatedly fulfill your commitments to yourself, you strengthen what the Stoics called prohairesis, the capacity for rational choice and self-determination. Each small promise kept rebuilds your relationship with yourself. 14. The relentless pursuit of the essential. In a world that celebrates multitasking and constant busyness, the Stoic method values the opposite. Fewer activities, executed with exceptional depth. Identify the few actions that truly move the needle toward your transformation. Marcus Aurelius warned against mental dispersion and attention fragmentation. Focus on completely mastering one skill before moving to another. 3 hours of focused study produce superior results to 10 hours of superficial learning interrupted by distractions. Ruthlessly eliminate the superfluous. Question each commitment, project, and relationship. Does this significantly contribute to my reconstruction or merely occupy space? Deliberate simplicity liberates mental resources for deepening what truly matters. 15. Strategic mental rehearsal. The Stoics practiced a form of visualization distinct from the modern approach focused solely on positive outcomes. They imagined both success and obstacles, preparing the mind for both. Epictetus encouraged his students to anticipate difficulties to strengthen them against future setbacks. Dedicate time daily to visualize yourself executing each necessary step of your transformation process. The obstacles you'll likely encounter and how you'll overcome them. Your balanced emotional response to both progress and setbacks. The person you're becoming, acting according to your new values. This exercise isn't mere fantasy, but practical neural training. You're literally reconfiguring your brain to recognize opportunities and maintain balance in the face of challenges. 16. Excellence without witnesses. Cultivate the discipline of doing your best work when no one is watching. The ancient Greeks called this virtue arete, excellence as an end in itself, not as a means for recognition. Meticulously clean areas no one will see. Refine details that would go unnoticed. Maintain high standards even in the absence of witnesses. This practice dissolves dependence on external validation and builds unshakable internal integrity. As Marcus Aurelius wrote in his personal journals, never intended for publication, what matters is the quality of your actions, not their recognition by others. Invisible excellence also manifests in consistency between private thoughts and public behavior. The Stoics valued this coherence as a mark of true wisdom. During your reconstruction period, progressively align your deepest beliefs with your daily actions. 17. Conscious information filtration. Your mind is shaped by the content you consume. During this transformation phase, be extremely selective about the information you allow into your consciousness. Epictetus compared the mind to a fortress that must be carefully guarded. Eliminate information sources that reinforce thought patterns you wish to overcome. Induce negative emotional states without constructive purpose. Disperse your attention with trivialities. Promote values contrary to those you're cultivating. Replace them with content that expands your understanding in areas relevant to your reconstruction. Study biographies of people who exemplify the qualities you seek to develop. Deepen your technical knowledge necessary for your evolution. 18. Deliberate discomfort training. The Stoics regularly practiced voluntary deprivation exercises to strengthen their mental resilience. Seneca, despite being extremely wealthy, occasionally lived as if poor, sleeping on hard surfaces and eating simple food. This training prepared his mind to face real adversities with equanimity. Incorporate calculated challenges into your routine. Physical exercises that test your current limits, intermittent fasting or dietary simplification, controlled exposure to extreme temperatures, cold showers, sauna, intellectual tasks requiring sustained concentration, challenging conversations that expand your perspective. Each voluntary discomfort strengthens your ability to persist when transformation becomes difficult. As Epictetus emphasized, we must first strengthen the body and then the soul through gradual exposure to difficulties. 19. Liberation from applause. Work without needing immediate recognition. This is one of the most counterintuitive practices in our era of instant gratification, but also one of the most powerful. The Stoics understood that acting from duty, not reward, develops uncommon strength of character. During your invisible work phase, cultivate satisfaction derived from the process itself, not its external perception. Marcus Aurelius reminded that we should find joy in the virtuous act itself, without expectation of praise or compensation. This internal orientation allows you to maintain consistent effort even in the absence of positive feedback. When you eventually emerge from your transformation period, this independence will be one of your greatest strengths. 20. Strategic time management. The Stoics had acute awareness of life's finitude. Marcus Aurelius constantly reminded himself that time is not a renewable resource and must be invested with extreme deliberation. During your reconstruction phase, critically examine how you use each hour. Eliminate activities that consume time without contributing to your development. Identify periods wasted in automatic procrastination habits. Create physical and digital barriers that protect your most important work blocks. The Stoic technique of memento mori, remembering death, serves as a powerful priority clarifier. Regularly ask yourself, if my time were drastically limited, would this activity still deserve my attention? 21. Learning as self-respect. Study systematically, not to display knowledge, but as an expression of respect for your potential. Epictetus, who began life as a slave and became one of Rome's most respected philosophers, emphasized that serious learning is a moral responsibility to oneself. Establish a structured development program in areas relevant to your transformation. Deep reading of fundamental works, not just superficial summaries. Deliberate practice of skills with constructive feedback. Careful documentation of insights and connections between different knowledge areas. Immediate application of learning in practical contexts. This investment in your intellectual and technical capacity grounds the genuine confidence that will eventually radiate from you. 22. Practical identity construction. Your new identity isn't a distant ideal, but a daily practice. The Stoics understood that we become what we repeatedly do. Each small action aligned with your new values gradually solidifies who you're becoming. Identify specific behaviors that characterize the person you wish to be. Practice them consciously, even when they initially feel artificial. Marcus Aurelius advised acting as if we already were the person we aspire to be, thus creating a positive reinforcement cycle. This practical approach avoids the common trap of fixation on an idealized self-image without corresponding actions. You're not imagining a new version of yourself. You're methodically building it through daily choices. Transformation occurs in layers, like an artisan patiently working on their craft. Some changes will be quickly perceptible, while others will emerge only after months of consistent effort. Respect this natural rhythm, without forcing premature results. Throughout this period of invisible work, remain faithful to your original reconstruction purpose. The Stoics valued constancy of purpose as an essential virtue. When initial motivation fades, and it inevitably will, this clarity of intention will sustain your commitment. Remember that invisible work is, by definition, not externally recognized. The absence of validation can be challenging in moments of doubt. In these instances, turn to objective evidence of your progress, not others' opinions. Seneca reminded us that the crowd rarely appreciates true value. Your own discernment must be your guide. The invisible work phase is where many abandon their transformation journey. The lack of immediate rewards and the discomfort of growth repel those seeking superficial changes. Your persistence during this period is precisely what will establish the difference between temporary metamorphosis and permanent evolution. When no one is watching, become impossible to ignore. This is the paradox of invisible work. The more you invest away from the spotlight, the more undeniable your transformation will be when you finally return. Like accumulated pressure that eventually finds release, your silent reconstruction will manifest with disproportionate force when the time is right. After the period of strategic withdrawal and invisible work comes the moment of return, not as a dramatic event, but as a renewed presence that manifests naturally. This final phase of the Stoic method represents the harvest of what was cultivated in silence. The true power of this reappearance lies precisely in its discreet yet undeniable quality. 23. The superfluous nature of explanations. The most common error when re-emerging after personal transformation is attempting to justify the changes. Explanations, however eloquent, diminish the impact of your evolution. Marcus Aurelius teaches that virtuous actions speak for themselves, without requiring commentary or defense. Don't announce your transformation. Don't send messages detailing your inner journey. Don't seek validation for your personal growth. Simply reappear. embodying your new version naturally. The inevitable questions about what happened to you can be answered with a serene smile and minimal response. The Stoics understood that the compulsive need to explain oneself reveals insecurity about one's own value. When you're genuinely centered in your new identity, external approval becomes secondary. Let the quality of your presence speak for you. 24. The magnetic power of calculated mystery. There is magnetic force in what isn't completely revealed. Contrary to the culture of excessive transparency, the Stoic method values strategic reserve. This isn't about manipulation, but understanding that not everything needs, or should, be shared. Epictetus advised his students to guard their highest purposes, protecting them from unprepared opinions. Keep certain aspects of your transformation as private knowledge. This discretion creates a sense of depth that naturally attracts people who resonate with your new frequency. Well-applied silence generates curiosity and respect. When questioned about details you prefer to keep private, learn to respond with kindness without compromising your privacy. I'm exploring new directions communicates openness without exposing what's still developing. 25. The natural attraction of visible results. Your return will be magnetizing not through grandiose declarations, but through tangible manifestation of your transformation. People will naturally notice your new posture, mental clarity, character consistency, and concrete results. These external signs of internal change speak with an eloquence no speech can match. Seneca emphasized that true philosophy expresses itself in actions, not words. Let your increased productivity, more authentic relationships, centered presence, and decisions more aligned with your values be the evidence of your evolution. Recognition will come as a natural consequence, not as an objective. This substance-based magnetism, in contrast to self-promotion, attracts opportunities and people of similar quality. As the Stoics understood, genuine virtue has its own brilliance that needs no artificial amplification. 26. Others' discomfort. As confirmation, prepare yourself. Your transformation will cause discomfort in some. Your new version will challenge their image of you and, by extension, their understanding of themselves. Some will subtly try to bring you back to previous patterns. Others will question your motivations or minimize your changes. This discomfort is, paradoxically, confirmation of your real growth. As Marcus Aurelius observed, genuine evolution frequently provokes resistance in the surrounding environment. The Stoic method teaches us to recognize these reactions with understanding, without letting them interfere with our trajectory. When confronted with this discomfort, remain serene and firm. Don't try to convince others of the validity of your transformation. Don't defend yourself against insinuations or criticism. Simply continue manifesting your new identity with quiet consistency. 27. The necessary natural distancing. As your vibrational frequency changes, certain people will naturally distance themselves from your life, and this is appropriate. The Stoics understood that relationships are governed by essential affinities. When you transform deeply, some connections lose their resonance base. Don't force the maintenance of relationships that no longer reflect who you've become. Don't nurture guilt for letting certain friendships naturally dissolve. Epictetus reminds us that each person has their own path to follow, and not all paths remain parallel. This distancing needn't be hostile or dramatic. Simply gradually reduce emotional and temporal investment in relationships that no longer nourish your growth. Reserve your energy for connections that reflect and support your new identity. 28. Immunity to external judgments. One of the greatest achievements of the Stoic method is developing genuine immunity to others' opinions. Not the feigned indifference that hides underlying concern, but true inner freedom that emerges from clarity about your values. The Stoics called this living according to nature, aligned with rational and universal principles, not arbitrary social expectations. When your sense of value is internally anchored, external judgments lose their power over you. This freedom manifests in small details. calmly maintaining your position in a disagreement, defending boundaries without aggression, pursuing unconventional objectives without needing social approval. Each of these expressions of your autonomy strengthens your new identity. 29. Judicious selection of new circles. Just as some people will naturally distance themselves, others will be attracted to your orbit. Discernment in forming new social circles is essential in this phase. The Stoics valued wisdom in personal associations, recognizing their profound influence on our development. Establish high criteria for who you'll allow into your intimate life. Seek people who exemplify qualities you aspire to strengthen. Seneca advised choosing models whose character could inspire our own, a form of education through association. Be patient in this process of forming new connections. Relationship quality is infinitely more important than quantity. A single friendship based on shared values and mutual growth is worth more than dozens of superficial connections. 30. Vigilance against complacency. Successful return brings with it a subtle danger: complacency. External recognition and visible results can create a false sense of completion. The Stoics warn us against this trap, reminding that personal development is an ongoing process, not a final destination. Establish mechanisms to keep your growth active. Create progressive challenges that test your new limits. Marcus Aurelius, even at the height of imperial power, continued his inner work daily, recognizing that excellence requires constant maintenance. Periodically question your new habits and perspectives. Avoid crystallizing your renewed identity into a new form of rigidity. True wisdom maintains a balance between character stability and flexibility for continued evolution. 31. The perpetual renewal cycle. The Stoic transformation method isn't linear, but cyclical. Once the process of disappearance, invisible work, and return is completed, you can, and eventually should, initiate new renewal cycles. Epictetus suggested that the wise person is always willing to restart their learning. Recognize when a phase of your life has reached its natural conclusion. Don't hesitate to strategically disappear again when you feel the need for reinvention. This capacity for conscious restart is one of the greatest strengths developed through this method. The Stoics understood that life comprises seasons, each with its purpose. Wisdom lies in recognizing when one season has ended and another should begin, without excessive attachment to past identities, even those we ourselves have built. 32. Life as a silent example. The most powerful final result of the Stoic method isn't just your personal transformation, but the impact it silently exercises on others. Seneca observed that living examples of virtue are more persuasive than all philosophical treatises. Don't preach your methodology. Don't try to convert others to your path. Simply live according to your renewed principles, allowing your existence to be a silent testimony of elevated possibilities. Those who are ready will recognize the inspiration and seek their own version of the journey. This silent example has a multiplying power that transcends your immediate circle. Like a stone thrown into a lake, the waves of your personal transformation expand in directions you could never predict or directly control. The essence of the Stoic return is precisely this: naturally manifesting what was cultivated in invisibility, allowing the quality of your presence to communicate what words cannot adequately express. True power needs no explanation. It is felt. Your new version represents not a final destination, but an elevated starting point for continued evolution. The Stoics saw life as a work in constant perfection, never complete, always developing. This perspective liberates you both from the pressure to achieve idealized perfection and the stagnation of believing you've already arrived. Thus completes, and simultaneously restarts, the cycle of disappearance, transformation, and return that constitutes the Stoic method for silent life reconstruction. The lasting power of this approach lies in its sustainability. Unlike techniques based on passing motivation, this methodology builds foundations that remain firm over time. True power needs no explanation. It is felt. Which of these 30 steps resonated with you the most? Leave a comment below. Your insight might inspire someone else on their journey. If this message spoke to you, give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone ready to rebuild from within.